everyone, this is Rebecca over 60, and today I'm talking to Peter Galbraith. He's a resident at Life Plan Community Wake Robin in Shelburne, Vermont, and he was an early pickleball adopter. He's been playing for more than 6 years, along with many of his 400 neighbors, and has perfected their skills as pickleball fever has spread across the country at the rate of about 200% the past few years. I haven't played pickleball yet, but I would love for you to tell me all about it and how it's beneficial to people that are over 50.
Sure, be happy to. During the pandemic in early 2020, I noticed that our parking lot at our Life Plan community in Shelburne, Vermont was empty. So we set up a portable pickleball net. That was 4 years ago, and we spent 2 years playing in the parking lot. I think we now have about 10% of all the residents here at Wake Robin playing pickleball. I think only 2 of them had ever played before. So it's referred to as dangerously easy to learn. Dangerous for a variety of reasons. One, you become addicted when you play. It's so easy to learn that, for example, we have a wonderful lady here who's 90 years old and wears a knee brace. And one ought to be very careful when you challenge her to a pickleball game. So it's a game that a grandmother can play with her 70-year-old grandson and have lots of fun. And there are lots of health benefits in terms of flexibility and balance and just aerobic exercise. I'm sure that folks have heard or may have heard that there are significant numbers of injuries in pickleball. As Rebecca said earlier, the growth rate has just been phenomenal. So if badminton went from increased 200% players every year, you would see a substantial increase of sprains and things like that. Part of the challenge, and older folks need to keep in mind, or anybody really keeps in mind, before you play any sport at all, you ought to check with your doctor to make sure that's okay, if that feels appropriate, but also do a little bit of exercise and stretching before you play. I think that can make a difference. We've just had extraordinary success here in Vermont and across the world, really. And I think the number one issue is the social aspect of it. We had a lecture here at Wake Robin about 6 months ago from a physician who's headed up what I call a happiness study at Harvard that started in 1938. And they've been interviewing people in all walks of life ever since then. And he said, if I had to boil down into one word what all our research has taught us, it's relationships. That's what happens on the pickleball court, playing with people of all ages and people of different points of view in the world. There was a New Yorker study or article recently that said, I think the headline was, "Can Pickleball Save America?" And the point of the article was people just get out there and have fun, and nurturing social relationships is a strong part of that. I think the other thing is that if you go on the tennis channel now, you'll find pickleball as well, much to the distress of so many tennis players. But you'll see some extraordinary play and hard pass shots. But pickleball can be played at many different levels and be a lot of fun. I think when you're playing tennis, and I played tennis all my life, if you're playing against somebody who is new to the game, it's not a lot of fun because tennis is not easy to learn. But in pickleball, somebody can pick it up very quickly, and it can be an interesting and competitive game. But you don't have to run all over the court. It's a small court. You can just sort of mosey around if that's what you're inclined to do, and is what a lot of what we do with people at Wake Robin. Our average age here is 83. So people at all levels can play it.
How physical is it, though? I mean, how much running around is there? Because I know with tennis, you'd be running all over the court and stuff, and it's pretty exhausting, I would think, at that age.
Yes. Pickleball is designed, and the court and the rules are designed to take the power out of the game. So on 7 feet on either side of the net, they call it the kitchen. And you can't go in the kitchen unless the ball bounces there. So you can't stand at the net and slam the ball as you can in tennis. And so behind that 7-foot area is only a 15-foot area where you do most of your playing. 90% of pickleball is played with doubles. You can play singles. So you have a relatively small part of the court to cover. And if you watch the professionals, they quickly race up to the kitchen line, but you don't have to play pickleball that way. We have tournaments here, 3 tournaments every summer. It's a round robin, so-called style. And in this format, we have everybody plays with and against everybody else in a series of short games. So you have people of all skill levels playing in a tournament and having fun. So
I bet it keeps you pretty flexible. I can imagine.
Yeah.
What type of ball is it? Because it's how is it different than badminton?
The ball is a plastic ball. It looks like a wiffle ball that kids have played with for years. It has large holes in it, which slows the ball down, and that makes the game more fun and easier to learn. For tennis players, it's quite an adjustment because you hear the ball with fairly loud noise, and you expect it, when you hear that noise, you expect it to go fast, and it does just the opposite. So it's like in baseball and tennis, what you hear on the ball, the batted ball or the tennis ball that's hit with a tennis racket, you hear a sound, and that tells you something about how fast the ball is coming. But that's not true in pickleball. You hear fairly louder sound, and the ball comes very slowly, which is really one of the nice parts of the game. Makes it easier to learn.
So how do people ease into that if they're used to kind of sitting on the couch all day?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's good to do some stretching exercises and before you play. We have a group of residents who we have what we call organized open play every day of the week. And we have one session that's devoted to beginners only. And so we have accomplished players here, residents who are also skilled at teaching, working with beginners. And then 3 times during the summer, we have a pickleball professional come in, and she does pickleball lessons. And the first time we did it, we were amazed. We had about 30 people on the sidelines watching, and the instructor was good at not only talking to her students on the court, but also answering questions in the crowd. And so it just turns out to be a lot of fun. The second year that we had pickleball here, again, was in the middle of the pandemic. I received about 20 letters from people saying what pickleball meant to them and the relationships that they developed as newcomers to the community, and also during the pandemic when there was tremendous isolation, especially among seniors who were particularly vulnerable. It's a lot of fun. It's a silly game.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it's a great way to, just become friends with people. Although, I don't live in a community or anything like that, but I have seen pickleball courts and stuff. So I guess, there probably are a lot of places where like older people can play it together.
Yes, I think just about every community across the country is either building pickleball courts, or what many of them doing are they're putting pickleball lines on their public tennis courts. And so you can play tennis and pickleball on a tennis court.
Are you playing on concrete?
Yes. Yeah, you have to play on a hard surface. You can play indoors on wood, or outdoors it's usually a blacktop kind of surface that has a coating on top of it to make it smoother and a little bit softer.
Did people fall sometimes? Or I can imagine if they got really into it. Yeah. How dangerous is that?
we caution people when they're beginners not to back up too fast. Just, take it easy and until they get the feel for the court. You don't want to wear a type of sneaker that really grips the surface. You want a smooth surface. So that's a good question. The type of shoe you wear makes a difference. It's not an expensive shoe. It's just you don't want one that sticks to the court, so to speak.
So it's more of a classic tennis shoe?
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to like a running shoe or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
we have a little box alongside the court that has pickleballs and paddles in there, so the residents can play with it. They don't have to have any equipment, and you could spend $300 on a pickleball racket, but you'll do just as well with a $25 racket.
Oh, so is the racket kind of more like a racquetball racket?
It's more that size. It's a paddle. They started out being, a handle that's about 7 or 8 inches long, and then a paddle on top of that. And in the early days, it was all wood. Now they have paddles that are made out of all sorts of carbon materials.
How long does the game last? Just generally.
Usually a game is 11 points, and it's like ping pong. You only get a point when you're serving. So if your partner is serving and you win the point, you don't get a score. You just win the serve back. You win when you're serving, when your team is serving. You play to 11 and you have to win by 2 points. So it's very similar to ping pong in that respect. At Wake Robin, when we're playing, we usually have, and this is true all across the country, people are so enthusiastic about it that most facilities are overwhelmed. So it's not uncommon to have 12 or 15 people waiting to play. So what we do is we play 7-point games and you win by 1 point. So the games go faster and more people can play. In little old Burlington, Vermont, just in the last year, we've had 3 new pickleball centers, indoor and outdoor centers built. So it's taking off in Vermont as it is across the country.
Yeah, I guess that's good for you because you have the weather there. I'm in Los Angeles, where I guess most people would play it outside, I would think.
Yes. Yeah. And we're now beginning to think about playing it indoors because of climate change and the amount of heat that you have during the summer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, sort of like a racquetball court or something.
Right. Yeah.
I remember I did play that a couple of times. I couldn't, that's really exhausting. Now I don't think I could do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a fun game. The ball goes much, much faster than a pickleball does.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with promoting it?
We used to go to Florida for 3 months to camp in various Florida state parks. And I was visiting a friend there about 8 years ago, and he introduced me to pickleball. So I had played it twice before the pandemic hit here in Vermont. That vacant parking lot inspired me to try something.
That's great. So just encourage more people to take up the sport. I'll have to try it one of these days.
You got to do it. It's fun.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting us know about it. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think that covers it. I'll just quote a 15th century poet who said, "Mix a little foolishness with your prudence. It's good to be silly at that right moment." This is in 25 BC by Horace, the poet. And I'm sure he was talking about pickleball.
That's great. Well, thanks, Peter, so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.